How about that for a victory? Huh? Thank you. A victory!
I know. It's
Victory!
Bill's Victory Monday makes work just a little bit easier to tolerate.
Some of you are off
A
tomorrow,
little.
though.
Just a little easier.
I think a lot of you are off tomorrow, though, right?
I mean, I gotta go to work. You're a teacher. You don't have to work.
Hey.
That's not the life you live.
Hey. Enough.
I understand. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, everybody, what's going on? So Bill's Victory Sunday leads into Bill's Victory Monday, which obviously nobody around here is going to complain about. I do want to immediately mention, and I want to say this right out of the bat, Brian Daboll coached this game like his job was on the line, because in my opinion it was. And this is exactly the type of game that you get worrisome about, like right out of the box, because I mean, guys, come on, like, it's been rough the previous 9 weeks, and this was the type of game that could save an OC's job going into the bye week. If you were dead set on letting him go, what do you do now for the coaching staff? Do you still let him go? Like, what do you do? Do you move on?
First, 11/11, Veterans Day.
Oh, yeah?
Special thanks to all the veterans out there.
Thank you very much.
I got my camo hat on, repping it. So, Brian Daboll, I think this bought him a lot of time. I think that's what this did. It bought him a lot of time. You have a quarterback who's been there for a cup of coffee, and then he ends up leading you to victory. But, I mean, I was watching the game with Chris and Drew of the Rock Power Report today.
Oh, that'd be a good time.
Oh yeah, and I was, they were talking to me about Daboll and this and that and the other thing, and I kept going, well, what do you have to say about Daboll now? Mm-hmm. And I was just basically like, you know what? The plays that he called today, format, everything that he called, did it look similar to the previous 9 weeks? And I go, and then they were like, no, it didn't.
The results didn't look like that.
I mean, you have 2 or 3 jump balls in there that I saw. They could have went either way.
Yep.
Zay Jones fumbles at the 1. Typically, that's where the Bills lose those fumbles.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're getting breaks go their way. Shady opened it up behind Wyatt Teller.
Yep. Oh, Wyatt Teller was a man on a mission today. He was throwing guys around. It was great to see.
But I mean,
great to see.
You see, oh man, he was nothing like Quentin Nelson today, though.
Oh no, Quentin Nelson shaved years off of somebody's life today.
He needs some milk. But it was one of those things where you look at the deck stacked against Daboll. Play's not playing. Teller's a new starter. You got Matt Barkley who's there for 20 minutes. Well, Daboll did a heck of a job calling the game today. Yeah, it's easy to call plays when you're up.
Well, and when your playbook's not very deep. And when your playbook's not very deep.
You're playing against McNown. I mean, the Jets.
See, I was a little hesitant about that. The reason I was a little hesitant was because McNown was your starter last year, right? So it's not you're not taking a step.
Team,
they were bad last year. I get it. I know. And there's a lot of talk about Bowles being on the hot seat. Absolutely, right? Absolutely could be on the hot seat.
Great question, man.
What?
If Bowles is fired Tuesday, does that diminish the win?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I mean, the Bills hanging 41 on you, a team that scored 33 in the past 4 games.
Yeah.
That's something to get you fired. That is something to get you fired.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with that. I mean, this is a game that I think they walked in and kind of expected to handle a little bit harder than they did. Just didn't go that way for him, didn't go that way at all.
Thank you, Matt Mallory. I just said it and he types it. That was awesome. But the Jets are bad.
Yeah.
The Jets are just a bad team. I mean, you're talking about a team that has now, after today, allowed a 100-yard receiver in 8 of their 10 games. I mean, Blake Bortles hung 368 on this defense. Let's not say that, it's... I mean, D.D. Westbrook and Dante Moncrief both had 100 yards receiving.
Yeah.
Against this Jet defense.
Well, and so did Robert Foster today on 3 catches.
Dude, Buster Screen
Skrine.
Whatever he is, he's gonna be fired anyway. He's not gonna.
Oh man, you know what? I
could
tweeted
run
that
routes
right.
on him.
Like it was the second drive, and I tweeted out. I was like, you know what? I hope this is the Zay Jones show against Buster Skrine. I'll take Zay Jones on Buster Skrine all day long. All day long. I've never been a fan of Buster Skrine, and I was thrilled to see Zay Jones light it up from the slot, which is the position he should have been playing since he was drafted. If you've been a fan of this show, or you can go back to any episode that we talk about Zay Jones, I literally have said that his entire career. Should have been playing the slot the whole time. And I think you saw that a lot today.
Yeah.
So I want to get to a couple things. First off, Dawkins has better hands than Benjamin. It's Josh. You are absolutely right. He also is now tied for touchdown receptions with Kelvin Benjamin. Let's talk real quick. I can think of 3 tackles, Dawkins included now, who have caught touchdowns for the Bills. The last one I think was in 2005, and it was Jason Peters, who played tight end in college, by the way. So who was the one before that? Who was the tackle that? This is from memory though, so I don't want to. I could be wrong.
I don't know this.
John Fina. I remember a John Fina touchdown. He ran. I remember the John Fina fade route on the 1 yard line. It was the slowest fade route I'd ever seen, including Kelvin Benjamin. The slowest fade route I'd ever seen.
Point of note that I heard today on my way here though. That was Lossman's first touchdown was to Peters.
Yeah, it was.
So Barkley, you got some big shoes to fill.
It would have been. It would have been. I do want to point out something that Nathan Long pops it in. He goes, "How did this awful offense score any points, let alone that many?" You know, they did something that they haven't done in the last 8 weeks, and it was stretch the field. They had no problems throwing the ball deep, and you know, Foster made an adjustment on a real nice ball. Yeah, it was underthrown. Made a nice adjustment. You know, the receiver's confidence level, and maybe I'm wrong here, you guys let us know in the chat whether you agree with this or not. The receiver's confidence level was sky high today, right out of the box. So the week of practice with Barkley, it must have been very clear, like Barkley was on time, on point, on location, because those receivers weren't doing any of this.
Like waiting.
Yeah, they weren't waiting, they weren't adjusting, the ball looked on point, and the confidence level from the receivers looked sky high.
You're going to talk about a team that offensively was as low as you can get. Not even scoring 100 points before today. So you come in here, Barkley's playing with house money. There's no pressure on him to win at all.
Yeah.
I mean, if he'd won, they were so bad. If he won the coin toss, they would have given the key to the city. But it's one of those things where you look at this team. You're playing with house money. They stack the deck. I mean, the Jets could have drew him a bath. They put 8 in the box the first play of the game. They run play action.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be able to stretch the field. So after that first play where they throw the fade route to Foster, he catches it, and then they go in, Jets are like shell-shocked. They're already a bad team. They're already spiraling out of control as it is. And you just pushed them over the edge on that point. But then they are sitting there and they have to adjust. Wait, they're going to go deep today? Wait a minute. Opens up Jones underneath.
Yep.
Opens up, you got Kroom, you got Logan Thomas. Then you run a fake punt.
That one bothered me a little bit because I saw it coming. I saw it coming. You see Logan Thomas hit the up back, you're like, he throws the ball better than Peterman. So, you're like, yeah, fake punt. Because Logan Thomas hasn't been there all season. So as soon as you saw Logan Thomas there, it would be just like seeing Terrell Pryor. You got to know it's coming.
We'll get to Peterman, but just to answer one question, almost had 200-yard receivers. When's the last time that happened? I don't know about 2, but they flashed a stat during the game. I'm sure you saw. First 100-yard receiver in 20 games.
Yeah, that's crazy. Tim Ellington asked how many points had the offense scored prior to today. I think they were at 97. It was slightly below 100, but the Bills basically made up half the ground today. They scored about half as many points today as they had, as they had throughout the season. I do want to point out something, and we talk about this all the time, specifically on this show, and it is the field position battle and the defensive battle. So here, let me break this down for you real fast. If we take a look at the team statistics, this is all off of ESPN.com. If you take a look at your team statistics, the Jets had 12 total drives. Okay? So let's walk through their 12 total drives. 6 of them were 3 and outs. Okay, so they only had half of their drives lasted more than 3 plays. Okay, now you go, okay, well, there are a couple turnovers there. You're right. They did not happen on drives. No drive ended of 3 and out. Those are extended drives. So the defense was able to turn the ball over on a drive that wasn't 3 and out. So you now turn that into They had 6 drives that went 3 and out. Now they had 8 drives that went 3 and out. They also had 1 drive that ended in downs, right? So 9 of their 12 drives were 3 and outs or turnovers on downs.
Wow.
9 out of 12. That is why you win football games right there. It doesn't matter how many points you score. If 9 out of the 12 drives end in loss it down, lost the ball on down, 3 and out, or a turnover, you win that football game. So the defense again stepped up to the plate and made it really easy for the offense to do anything. And of course, those numbers get a little skewed, or you'd think they would start getting skewed because you're like, well, the Jets had to throw. Everybody knew that. Well, actually, they had more offensive success in the second half. So
after they're down 31.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You got to think about it in this respect. I mean, you're starting a quarterback that hadn't started all year, even though he was their starter last year. And Robbie Anderson was out. So the one guy that does stretch the field for the Jets was not there. So they didn't have to worry about the deep ball. I mean, they were giving up the deep ball, and they were clouding everything in the middle. That's why everything was done. Jerry Hughes, excellent game today. Kyle showed up as well. Milano all over the field. Milano picks off a pass 25 yards downfield.
I really thought they felt like they could win the battle of McGuire and Trenton Cannon on Milano. Like you could just see from an offensive standpoint, they really thought they could run those guys on wheels and unders, and just to get Milano guessing and get Milano moving. Milano played free safety in college, man. Like he's really good in coverage. He does get manned off a lot by big-bodied tight ends. He struggles to stay body-on-body with them. But from a speed standpoint, he's not going to lose many battles. He's fast.
No. He bodied up Gronk pretty good a couple times in that game. Got a lot of comments flying in. Thank you guys so much. We're going to try to get to all these right now.
Yep.
So, Tim Ellington, Samario's a math guy. What fraction of the total points did the offense score today compared to the entire season so far?
Well, it was 96 points prior to today.
41 out of 96?
Yeah.
That's,
no. Remember,
less than 50%.
No, you have to add. You have to add those points.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm off the clock right now, Tim. You have to realize that, Tim.
That's fine. I do want to point out the Bills, again, on third down, not excellent. 8 of 16. Kind of seeing that as, so we can talk about the offense and how great it was, but kind of like not great on third down still.
But there can be an excuse made for this guy just got there. I mean, 10 of 11 guys have been running this offense, well, with the exception of Teller. So, 9 of 11 guys have been running this offense every week.
I do want to point out that a lot of people will ask, well, why wasn't Barkley signed? First off, the Bills are his 6th team in 6 years, right? He's got, I think, 6 career touchdown passes and 18 career interceptions. So very Ryan Fitzpatrick-esque performance prior to coming to the Bills.
Whoa.
But, and the Bills had success with Fitzpatrick, so I don't want to downplay that. But he's been around, right? And clearly had no problem with zone coverage. Like, the Jets really thought they could aggressively attack Barkley with 5, 6, 7 blitz and just run zone, and he had no problem picking them apart. No problem at all.
No, like I said, they couldn't done anything with it. Let's say drew him a bath. I mean, it made it so comfortable for him. And then you go up 7-0 after 2 plays. Then you go up 14-0. I mean, you're playing with house money now. You like I keep saying that phrase, but that's basically what it is. He could have done no wrong in this game. I mean, he couldn't have played worse than the quarterbacks prior to him. I mean, aside from Josh Allen, couldn't have played any worse than Nathan Peterman. I think he took a flight at halftime back to Buffalo to clear out his locker.
You have to imagine that as soon as he walks out of the trainer's room and they say Allen's good to go, that Peterman's gone.
That's in the same breath. It's got to be in the same breath. Why would you keep Peterman at this point? It doesn't seem like he's going to be playing at all. I mean, he had the coat on today. I mean, he didn't want to be seen or heard from at all today.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the second time that he's been benched for a guy that's been on the team for less than 2 weeks. So, I mean, shouldn't that
pretty
be
much
enough?
tells you,
Yeah, I do want to get to a couple of these comments. Heather Smith been feeling sick ever since the Jets boxed out the Bills in the draft. Feeling a lot better now. Yeah, I mean, truth be told, when we found out it was going to be, not Sam Darnold versus not Josh Allen, we kind of all were expecting a sissy slapping match.
Barkley versus McCown? I couldn't wait for that.
Yeah, we're like, 2013 called. And this is like a starting matchup that you would have hoped to see in 2013. And let's not forget that, Matt Barkley was heralded in 2012. They were talking about him in 2012 as being the best quarterback in the draft. Yeah. And then he stayed for his senior season, got hurt, was on a really bad USC team. I mean, they were bad.
Yeah.
He gets drafted by the Eagles, right?
Yep.
Gets forced into playing, wasn't ready. That's another connection, though. Here, again, we have another quarterback that was in the Eagles organization, right?
Yep.
There's just more and more connections that just always
He's
seem to
running
go
out
back.
now. Like if these teams
I know.
start playing, these quarterbacks start playing bad. He's running out of connections of the guys that he had.
I know. It's just crazy how everything always seems to end up back with some sort of like Carolina connection or some sort of Andy Reid connection. I'm just throwing it out there. I know Barkley wasn't in Carolina, but it is interesting to point out that you're just kind of seeing similarities here, right? Where they seem to be picking up players. What? Don't look at me like that.
Okay, well,
Let's see. Matt Mallory. Well, let me go down.
Okay.
Any NFL QB has enough talent to have good games, but consistency is what makes a good NFL QB. Absolutely true.
I agree.
Absolutely correct. John Marilla, it's amazing how a QB with timing and accuracy makes an offense. Yeah, Barkley was really dialed in today, man.
I mean, that throw that he had to start the game, beautiful throw. Beautiful. A couple of those rainbows I thought were going to get picked because they looked like they were in the air forever.
Yeah.
But the one where he scrambled around and found Zay in the end zone,
beautiful.
That's an NFL play. That is a textbook NFL play. And we have to remember too, even though Barkley, he had that injury, he's been on 6 teams in 6 years is the thing. This guy still went to USC and played there.
Yeah,
and was started
very high
there.
level.
So,
very high level football.
Yeah, and then that's one of the knocks. I mean, if you're going to knock, I've heard it many times, if you're going to knock Josh Allen as a guy that didn't play against elite competition,
right.
Matt Barkley definitely did.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. I thought that, and again, you guys let us know in the comments whether you agree with this or not. Shady ran heavy today. And what I mean is, we didn't see LaShawn McCoy get to the line and start trying to move east and west. LaShawn McCoy got to the line and went and said, "Okay."
Well, there's a hole. There's holes.
I mean, I think every time he had to run the 4 gap, he's like, "Oh, Teller's over there. Yeah, I'll be fine."
Yeah. Oh man.
Let me just get right behind Teller.
He
It's
hitched
fine.
his wagon to
It's fine.
Teller and just ran away. But the thing that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, he's not running away from anybody.
No.
I mean, you're not catching the guy in a phone booth.
No.
But he's not going to run away from anybody at this point in his career.
Yeah.
But very steady, very solid 100-yard game
Yeah.
out of him. He scored twice. That was great. Well, it's great to see him get off of that. So.
And we could talk about, there were holes that this offense was opening up today, but the Jets love to bring pressure from that safety position. So they had a lot of guys down on the line. They planned on stacking the box and bringing a lot of pressure.
You talk about Bowles in Arizona when he had Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah.
He tried doing the same thing today with Adams.
Yep.
And he did quite a bit. But
Adams is the best player on that defense.
Oh my God.
You talk about
He
Leonard
wanted
Williams.
out
You
of there,
talk
didn't
about,
he?
what was that?
Didn't he want out of there to trade
Yeah.
White or whatever? Oh.
Yeah.
All right, I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but it was impressive to see the Bills control the edge, which I guess is a little bit easier to do when you have so many guys down in the box, right? To get to the edge. I mean, you tell me, when you're dropping a safety down, right?
Yes.
Is it easier to get to the edges? Because the Bills really had no problem stretching the field when they wanted
They're
to.
usually covering that. If you get a hat on them, it's different. But if you have a guy that's playing back, let's say Adams was playing in the secondary, make 12.
Well, like the Bills do. The Bills often have 2 guys deep. Like they don't really bring they don't really bring Poyer and Hyde down.
As far as the Bills do, what they do is they'll bring him late. So when you're making your protection setting and everything, and then the lineman's looking around, he's only looking within that little limited space of the line and saying, okay, this is what we have to do as far as protection goes in order to block this play up. They're not accounting for that safety. Now, if that safety's already sitting there in the box, you can account for him. So you can put a hat on him right away. Why the Bills are so successful is because Hyde and Poyer will come down late after the calls have been made, and they're free to lay a hit on somebody.
Right.
So that's the difference there.
But I didn't really see Barkley do that today. I didn't see Barkley calling protection changes. I didn't see any of that.
It's probably very limited. I'm
that's what I
thinking
mean.
Bodine's calling it for him.
So you think that was Bodine?
I think Bodine was calling it for him.
Okay. I was just curious because it was a very, very different, very different approach.
Yes.
Where we've seen Peterman make checks this season, albeit not good ones, right?
Yeah.
You saw Barkley not really worrying about protection. The protection seemed to be there.
Yes.
So you think Bodine owned that too?
Well, I mean, we say the protection was there and Barkley played great, but he was 15 of 35. Okay.
Yeah.
So he was able to get 35 passes off today. Let's just say that number one. Number two, you had
Did he
two.
get sacked at all today?
Yes, he did.
He did?
He did. You had 2 very overly aggressive tight ends who were playing for Charles Clay. You had Logan Thomas and Kroom, who they want to play. They
Yeah.
want to get out there. So they were trying
They very
to
much
basically
do.
audition for next year, putting
Yeah.
a hat on everybody.
Yeah, they very much.
So
do.
they were blocking really well too. And you know, I mean, I made a joke about the whole Dawkins touchdown when it happened. I said that's usually what he does on pass plays. He just kind of hits and then moves. That's the guy go around. No, I was just kidding. But
Yeah.
what a great team win. And they did things today offensively that I saw that they had not done in 9 weeks. They
Yeah.
opened it up. They did different things. You run. I mean,
They use their speed. Like they finally like.
Yep.
I was really impressed with McKenzie.
Yes.
They got early looks for McLeod. They got early looks for Foster.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the speed on this team that has been lacking. The way that they've been playing before was they were going Zay Jones, Andre Holmes, and Kelvin Benjamin, which scares no secondary. This doesn't scare any secondary because they go, we'll just play man. These guys, we could run with them with one leg. We're fine. But today the Bills really utilized their speed, both getting the guys in jets to open up, sort of the outside. And they did a lot of great stuffing. I was very, very happy with the way the play calling was. So we're going to get to a few of these comments. Tim Ellington, Shady wants a Super Bowl, and he ran like it. Well, he's going to have to run like it for a couple more years. Sam Dubs, great job, guys. Let's go Bills. Hey, man, we're here for you. We're not here for us. Below Zero, Lawson make the team next year. He showed up today. Yeah, I mean, Shaq Lawson did a great job of collapsing the pocket, which is something we haven't seen from him. He hasn't been able to control a guard. Now, mind you, that line is not excellent, right? So
No.
there are some technical things that line wasn't doing well for the Jets. So they wanted to run very quick passes today, right? That's really what they wanted to do. The Bills' pressure kind of disrupted that. But if you're trying to run like a West Coast style system, your line can't block up. Like you can't engage a guy up if you're in a West Coast system trying to get the passes off quick. Your tackles have to engage those guys down, more in the lower body, right? To try and get the hands of the defenders down. Because if you're blocking a guy and you're pushing him up, you're just pushing him into the passing lane.
okay, all right, I can see where you're going with that because the West Coast is a lot of quick throws, so
Right.
you got to try to get them off. So yeah, if a lineman's not going to get there within a 3-step drop, then they're going to put their hands up. Okay,
Right.
I get what you're saying, man.
Let's see. Matt Barkley will be the next Jim Kelly. Oh, Thomas, man. I don't know what's in that Kool-Aid. Does Bowles get fired
Thomas, my
tonight?
friend.
Rob Iman says, does Bowles get fired tonight? There was a lot of chatter from New York sports writers that he is done. And it's been a bad few years. And,
Yeah.
I mean, Bowles was the name. When he got hired. He was the name to
I mean,
get.
he was highly endorsed by Bruce Arians, and they wanted to bring another guy in. I mean, the Jets, you could say, is a similar situation to the Buffalo Bills. I mean, they had a defensive guy, and they brought in another defensive guy. So,
Yep.
I think what sold him to New York, and we're going a little off script here, but what sold him to New York was his demeanor and his presentation and how he handles himself. He's never
Yeah.
too high, never too low.
Yeah.
He's not gonna. I mean, in New York, you can get torched. You can get absolutely torched if you're in New York.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't. He has like a very unflappable
Right.
personality.
Very
so
true. Very
I
true.
think that was one of the things that kind of drew him to New York. He's like, listen, this guy, if we win, he's not going to get too high. If we lose, he's not going to get too low. Or he's going to be all right. He's going to settle the team down because we're in New York. I mean,
Yeah.
Papers can tear you up there. So, old I sound. Papers. Who reads papers?
Yeah, nobody reads
What's
that
going
stuff.
on? The
Nobody reads
media.
that
The
stuff.
media will tear you up.
Let's see, Matt Mallory. I'm very interested to see how Allen looks after the bye week, after all this time to sit back and learn from, with a few weeks to prepare. And he's also had a lot of different people there. What?
I'm out
Uh-oh,
because this
timeout.
connects over to Below Zero, who said we should sit Allen the rest of the year.
Yeah, this is a good
So
point.
this is
a
a-
good
this
point
is a
to bring up.
discussion that
Yeah,
we've
this is a good
talked
point to
about.
bring up. It
Yes.
actually goes in with Tim Ellington's comment. Did Barkley win the starting job? Also, did Daboll manage to save his job for a while? So I think all
another
those
week.
I think all those go together. So Mario and I had talked about this, and we can debate this right now if you want. But,
Absolutely.
or we can make y'all wait and cut it as an episode this week. I don't know.
Don't do that to him after you
I'm
just
kidding.
said
I'm
that.
kidding. We'll talk about it now. So if Daboll is your guy,
Okay.
right? If you're
Alright.
convinced after today, you're like, nope, Brian can do it. Let's move forward.
Okay.
Do you start Allen coming out of the bye week if the trainer says he's okay, or did Barkley show you enough to say, we could hang back. We don't have to start Josh. Let's just ride the Barkley train for a while. And how are you managing the locker room with that, right? Because there's a lot of components that go into that. It's kind of a moving piece. So will the offense want to go back to Josh after what Barkley just did today? Is the belief in Daboll there to start Allen or start Barkley? So there's a lot of moving pieces here. So
Yes.
where would you like to take this?
I would like to take it twofold. Number one, if you're of the mindset that, hey, we didn't expect to win a lot of games this year.
Yeah.
We want to have a high draft pick. We want to get some more pieces in here. All right, I would sit Dable. Sit Dable. I would
Dable.
definitely sit Dable. I would sit Allen and start Barkley the rest of the year. But
Lighting a tire fire because you're still Derek Anderson
no-
on the team.
Yeah, the thing about it is I think you should fire Dable. That was my contention for a while, and he switched things up today. To his credit, if you think Dable is your guy going into next year and Allen is your guy, then the next 6 games could just be something to where, like, hey, listen, we're just going to try to give this kid some experience. We have Barkley as an insurance policy if that happens. But judging on the injury, that's another thing we haven't figured out, because that is a very tricky injury to his elbow, so you don't know how that's going to play out. You would like to see him get some division games. There's 3 division games, I think, last week, or 4. We got four division out of the last 6.
Yeah, they got to run the gauntlet.
So unless you're of the mindset, hey, we don't want to give these guys anything to look at with Allen for next year, we're going to start Barkley. Or, hey, Allen is our guy. Let's get him experience in the division and seeing how to beat some of these players that he's going to see in the future years. I think it depends on it always depends on Dable for me. Okay, if Dable's your guy going into next year, okay, start Allen, let him get some experience.
Yep.
You got Barkley as an insurance policy, great.
Yeah, I'm with you
but
there.
Dable's not your guy. You have him and Barkley right off into the sunset the rest of the year, and then let Josh, he's not, talking about was he going to learn sitting behind Barkley? He's not going to learn anything, because this isn't the offense they're going to be running next year.
Yeah.
If you plan on getting rid of Dable. The wrench in it could be if they still fire Dable after all this, which I think is unlikely after a 41-10 win.
That's not looking very likely. The one thing we talked about last week that I'm glad to see that they did was they injected a lot of youth into the wide receiver position. So let's see here.
You told.
Yeah, who said that? Who said it? Let's see. John Patrick didn't even hear McKenzie was on the team until today. Yeah, and they gave him a big role. They let him return some kicks, and he was explosive. He looked great, right? So great signing there. And again, those are the types of moves that teams that are rebuilding need to just continually cycle and just see what sparks, right? That's how we ended up with Mike Gillislee a couple of years ago. He was a guy that we signed, he was on the street, and he got rushed into playing, and then he sparked, right? So that's what you have to do. That's what good teams are going to do, is they just continually cycle roster spots that they have available. So you bring in McKenzie, you like what you see there. You brought back Foster, and Foster did well today. You already have a roster spot invested in McLeod, so this is a perfect opportunity to try and force him the ball a little bit. You have Zay Jones on contract for another 2 seasons after this one, so you got to figure it out with him, right? So I think it was very much about, let's not worry about forcing Andre Holmes and Calvin Benjamin the ball. Let's go ahead and build the youth. Let's move forward with them, and let's see what happens. And McCoy ran like he was 26 years old. Like, he ran hard and ran heavy, and it was great to see, and Matt Mallory calls it out, it was great to see chemistry being built in such a short period of time. Now, Matt Mallory is referring to, building chemistry with Allen moving forward, which of course is important, right? If you're going to move forward with the rest of the season, will those receivers, starting Barkley, will it compromise their development to move forward with Barkley, or to just go with Allen, because that's really where you want the future to be?
Well, you have said to me, and we've talked about it a number of times, if you have a guy that comes out as a rookie, and he comes out of the gates firing, he does great, and then defenses start to adjust to him.
Yeah.
So was it so much that they had so much great chemistry just in a short period of time, or was it the fact that the unfamiliarity of the Jets with the new players that the Bills brought in was the factor? Because there's not a lot of tape on a lot of guys that you saw today.
Yeah, and the Bills dressed 7 receivers today, which is something they haven't done all season. There were some games they only dressed 4. They only dressed 2 tight ends. So they went real thin at the tight end position, which again is an approach I'm sure that the Jets did not anticipate, because the Bills have been trying to force feed the run all season. So why would we all of a sudden, with a quarterback who's been here 11 days, want to throw the ball 35 times in a game? Well, this really could have been just we schematically got ahead of them, right? The approach that the Bills took, because you could see right away that pass rush was not going to affect Barkley, right? They were bringing a lot of pressure, and it just didn't bother him, right? The way that it would have bothered Allen. Barkley sat there, and he worked through it again. He was not super proficient. his stats for the day are not excellent, right?
No.
But from a game management standpoint, got enough points on the board to win. So do I think that Barkley is the starter moving forward? I think he could start. Would I be more hopeful to see Barkley in a game than Peterman? I have to think so at this point.
Oh, God.
But would I care if it was
Say,
Barkley
yeah.
versus Anderson? I'd rather see Barkley right now because it's a little bit more of an unknown.
Yeah.
After what he showed today.
Well, I mean,
So,
with the unknown, if the Bills happen to rattle off 4 out of 6 and hurt their draft position,
that's
one
another
thing.
concern.
And the second thing about it, all the youth and new players that you have, I mean, Wyatt Teller starting for the first game. You have all these other guys coming in. Are these guys really concerned about winning this year, or is it just they're having 6 or 7 preseason games to find out which guys can play for them in the future on this team?
Yeah.
It's an interesting discussion to have because you don't know because in hockey we talked about you can tank and people know you're tanking.
Right.
Who tanks in football with 16 games?
Right.
Careers being so short, you can't openly say we're tanking this year.
Right.
But
As far as Peterman goes, and a lot of people are saying, please, for the love of God, cut Peterman, Matt Mallory. I think that really is all going to depend on. I think that's all going to depend on Allen's health. This is the second time that he's been benched for somebody who wasn't even in the league.
And just
But
to
when
let
they
you
got
know,
signed,
from
I
a
mean-
quarterback standpoint, I just wanted to say it real quick. From a quarterback standpoint, the minute that they started Anderson over him, he was officially done.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the game last week was just. It was hard to watch because you knew his confidence, everything was done.
Yeah.
He was finished. He was unbelievable. Once you start a guy that's been there for 25 minutes over a guy that's been in camp since day one.
Yeah.
The kid's done. The kid doesn't have any confidence in himself. The kid is just he's got to find another profession at this point. I don't think. I mean, which is upsetting because he's a good kid. Like on and off the field, I heard he's like a really good kid.
Yeah.
But, he's just
I've
not
heard
the
nothing but
quarterback
great
for
things
this
about
team.
Nate Peterman. Yeah. Let's see here. Who said it? John Ruola. Will they use the same, or will they use this playbook with Josh, or go back to the no points on offense? Again, the Bills had a lot of wide receivers on this roster today, and their intention was to throw the ball. So is that what they're going to do going forward? I mean, they went with let's pass to open up the run today, which has not been the theory all season.
Well, they said there's a stat before the game that I heard as I was driving, and it said that 22% of Josh Allen drives ended in scores.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the quarterbacks, 9% of their drives ended in scores.
That's terrifying.
So when you're
That's
13%
terrifying.
better, like almost double any other quarterback, it wasn't that they did, and a lot of it's Minnesota game too. Allen brings that X factor of if things don't go right on a play, he could try to make one.
Yeah, Barkley
And that's the
certainly
thing.
doesn't have that mobility.
No, he doesn't.
But that was been a knock on him since he was in the draft class in
No,
2012.
not that he's slow or just immobile.
Yeah,
It's just he doesn't move like that.
Yeah, but Barkley would have been, and Thomas Camp points it out, and we had mentioned this earlier in the broadcast. Barkley could have been a number 1 pick had he come out early at USC his junior season. Had he come out after his junior season, he would have been first round. He would have been made probably the first quarterback off the board. People loved him.
Oh boy.
He very well could have been, Jamie.
Oh boy. It could have been
Very
someone's
well could
mistake.
I mean, it's very Ryan Mallett's circumstance. Like everybody talked about Mallett the same way, right? And then Mallett went back, and then that exploded. So I'm just saying that
I
it's.
haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, I know. It's time with the Bills. Right? The Bills. And is Josh's slow start due to the play calling? As far as how Dable started, I think it did take a while for Dable to get moving, right? But again, it looks like the cast of characters is changing pretty frequently, and this week is very encouraging. Do I think Dable saved his job this week? I really have to just imagine that he did. The Jaguars defense is not playing well. I mean, they just gave up 30 points to the Colts.
Oh, and something I heard today as far as talking about the Jaguars, apparently there have been like multiple reports that people know about the infighting that's going on in the locker room. You got to understand that stems from the head coach. The fact that that team, Marone is an in-your-face guy. We know that firsthand, and the fact that that's the kind of chemistry and everything that he's building and the culture that he's building down in Jacksonville. He's a very in-your-face guy, and therefore, when things aren't going well in Jacksonville, a lot of those players are getting in the faces of the other players. You don't hear those grumblings at one Bills drive. I mean, the defense has to know how bad the offense has played, but they're still going out there and doing their job, and they're still trying to be encouraging. So as far as the knock that McDermott has gotten, he has very much so put on the path
Yeah, very much.
And I said this today too. That one of the things that everyone's like talked about, they hammer McDermott for his post game.
Mm-hmm.
Name me one notable, rememberable Andy Reid press conference after a game.
Yeah, zero. None.
No, that's
None.
who he learned from. How to
Yeah.
be a head coach was from him. Rivera
no.
doesn't give much either.
No.
So you're talking about the two guys that he's worked for the most. He
Master of the non-answer.
Yeah,
And the head coach
It's
doesn't need
fine.
the head coach is there.
I don't know why they even talk that. Stop talking to the head. Just let him go home and watch the tape. That's why I can't stand when they bombard these coaches with all these stupid questions just so they can write something on a blog later. You know what I mean? It just annoys
About
me.
the answer that they didn't give.
Yeah,
It does seem a little
Asked
silly
him
at
this
times. I agree with
question,
that.
but
I
he
agree
didn't
with
do that. But let him go home and coach. That's what he's not meant to be a public speaker in front of a bunch of media.
John Marlowe comments, if we become like the 90s Cowboys, then the tank is worth it. I mean, they certainly are trying to tank because they've started two quarterbacks who weren't even on the team, less than 2 weeks before they got signed. Like, it's just all this, kind of moved along quickly. And again, a lot of people were saying, well, if Barkley was available, why wasn't he signed? He just got medically cleared. He was put on IR this year by the Bengals. He was put on the IR this year by the Bengals, hurt his knee, and he just got medically cleared last week. So really, as soon as he was available, Bills snagged him.
Yep.
That's the reason why he wasn't signed prior, was because he
Another
wasn't
Bengals
medically
quarterback?
cleared.
Then we already learned that lesson earlier.
Yeah,
this year?
we did run the gamut on that one already. John Roberts just got done selling a car, tuned in and saw the Bills won. Are we going to the playoffs? Nope. They'd
I
have
thought
to
you were gonna read that
run
other
the
line.
Yeah, no, I didn't read all of it. They'd have to run the table. Now, mind you, it's all against the division. So a team like the Jets might look at this and say, you know what? If we fire Bowles, we're done. We're done. Miami might start phoning it in soon. Who knows? Miami.
Jets lost both games to Miami this year.
Yeah. Yep. It's bad to have so many division games in the NFC this season, man, because your draft stock can get so compromised within your division based off of,
However, don't have to worry about the Jets.
It's so
though.
weak.
You don't have to worry
It's so
about the
weak.
Jets, though, if they lose more than you this year, because then they give up a first-round pick next year to move up to get Darnold. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they gave up their first-round pick
Oh, they did, didn't
to
they?
get Darnold. So
I feel like they might have.
necessarily, I think, I'm just going, but I'm going on the assumption they gave up their first-round pick in 2019 in order to get Darnold. So in that case, you don't worry if they finish with a worse record than you. You're gonna check that out real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up.
I mean, it's one of those things. John, congratulations on selling the car, though, dude. That's pretty awesome.
Let's see, Sam Darnold trade.
I do like the way Zay Jones has looked. I mean, you've been beating that drum ever since that he should be a slot guy.
He has to be in the slot. Has to be. The thing about Zay was he's very lanky, right? And he's got in the 40, he's got 4.5 speed. Yeah, no, look at these muscles. He's got 4.5 speed, but it's very long speed, right? So he doesn't have like an extra gear. Like you talk about Marquise Goodwin. Marquise Goodwin had multiple gears where he could pull away from guys.
Yeah,
he could hit top speed.
Zay gets to his 4.5 really quick.
He does, but it's a very long speed. So once guys can time him up, they can run with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of it is just understanding your timing, hip position, shoulder position, ball placement. And these cornerbacks, they're fast, man. So they can keep up with these guys. It was great to see Zay in the slot. It really was. It was great to see Zay in the slot. That's where he needs to be.
Yeah, it was one of those. I just was wondering why Dable hasn't tried to use him as a Calvin Ridley type, because they had very similar combine numbers. So I figured that's the guy he would have tried to use in that role. But I think that's a very interesting question, though. If you think about it, if they fire Bowles on Tuesday, what does that do to this win?
Yeah.
I mean, did you beat a team that was already checked out?
Yeah, it's a very interesting problem to have, right? Because this Jets offense is simply not very good. I mean, they're just not very good. That line is atrocious. So let's see. The Jets announced they gave up their number 6 overall pick, 2 second-rounders, as well as a 2019 second-round pick.
Okay.
So it's a second-round pick. So we do still have to worry about the Jets in the 2019 draft. So that is definitely something that still could happen. Miami again. It's just one of those things. We still got to play Miami again.
So
many division games, man.
I'm not an advocate of. I mean, Miami's 5-4 right now. They're currently losing to Green Bay, but
yeah, but there's been problems. There's been problems in the locker room with Miami where people are saying that Gase is just letting people run rampant. So the Bills could go on a little bit of a winning streak here. we won one today. If we win one tomorrow,
That's called a winning
that's called a winning streak.
It has happened before.
So that is true. John Marilla comments about the sweeps. It was nice to see the Bills actually be able to get outside. They haven't been able to control the outside gaps at all.
No, I mean,
so it was nice to see them get outside. When Chris Ivory, when you're looking at it and Ivory's not playing today, like, oh man, the Bills are gonna have trouble running the football. It's really what a lot of people were saying.
Did the Jets not read the report?
What do you mean?
You don't have Ivory. They came into the game with Murphy and Shady.
And 7 receivers.
Who's the
7
one?
active receivers.
Who's the guy that runs up the middle? Is Ivory. So why wouldn't you defend the edges against these guys?
Right.
Because that's what they're not going to run inside as well as
Right.
Ivory will. So why don't
Right.
you the Jets?
I do want to point out the Bills defense again, shutting down those inside gaps. Nobody wants to run on the
No.
inside of the Bills.
No.
They don't want to do it. Nobody wants to run inside.
No one will do it. And then they're starting to adjust the teams not doing that at all.
Yeah.
So they're starting to guard the outside.
Yeah, they know that
Which is
that
great.
teams aren't even trying. And that's the great thing about what the Bills are doing right now is they're not putting on tape the fact that you can run inside on them. Even though they're making the
Oh, no.
adjustments. Even though they're making the adjustments and they're starting to bring a little bit of pressure outside from those middle gaps, still nobody's going back there. So it looks, again, like you just can't run inside on the Buffalo Bills. It's great.
Thomas, before we get to your comment, I just need to know, man, what is that you're sipping on, and can I have some? But Matt Barkley will lead the Bills to the Super Bowl this year. Also, after Todd Bowles is fired, he will be the Bills' special team coordinator next year.
Oh, please get Danny Crossman out of town. I will drive the Uber to get him out of town. I would be fine with that. Totally fine. Madden football talk. Man, why did they win? You could see Sean McDermott on the sidelines. He was kind of like in disbelief too. Like it was there when they were up 3 scores. He was like, "All right, guys."
I needed more of the
All right.
McDermott clap. That was funny.
With that
was
stern look, like you just did something wrong.
He's looking at you like a kid, like he just ran in the room and was screaming.
Yeah. Tim Ellington, Edmonds is always helpful when he blitzes. Just want to see him back more and learn more.
Yeah.
Dropping Milano in coverage a lot today, they really left Edmonds in the middle to kind of do as he needed to do.
Name me the presence for the Jets that was going to be hovering around the middle of that field.
Yeah.
That he had to stay there for.
Yeah, no.
He didn't have
No,
to.
he didn't have to.
He didn't have to stay
Didn't
there.
have
It's
to.
not
That's
like
a
you're
good point.
facing a
That's a good
Gronk
point.
or a Kelsey or a slot receiver that goes around. You know what I mean? You didn't have any.
Yeah,
you didn't have
that's
that presence there, and the
Yeah.
and the Bills probably knew that. So they're like, listen, if you feel like you got a chance, go. Just go because
Yeah.
we got you covered on the outsides with McGuire and all the other
Who's
guys.
the kid that they signed from Alabama that played corner? They signed him just a couple days ago. Wallace. So the Bills signed a cornerback
The
Wallace.
well-dressed Levi Wallace?
After they cut Philip Gaines, they signed Wallace, right? Signed him out of Alabama. No surprise.
He was there though, wasn't he?
I don't
Pretty
think-
sure he was there.
Was he?
The name rings a bell, but I'll get back to that.
Either way.
Thank you, Bills fan.
Yeah,
Levi Wallace?
yeah, it was Levi Wallace. I want to point out that they didn't ask him to do a whole lot today. They put him on the outside and say, you just play man. And you saw him get burned on that Crowell touchdown run because he came up, his man was out, right? Because his man moved over, right? He was playing man coverage, so he shifted with his man when he motioned in. His man cut back, and he was left on an island, and he bit in real bad, and he was the reason Crowell got to the outside.
Yeah,
but they had Wallace in man coverage all day, which is when you draft a guy from college, right? Often they play man in college. They don't play a lot of zone.
Yes.
So it's not
They're
hard.
better athletes than
Yeah,
what they're playing.
it's
yeah.
not hard to take a cornerback from Alabama and say, you know what, you just play man today. You just do. He's been doing it for 4 years. He's fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah, but
That's-
what I'm saying,
but you don't
though-
have to expect much from him.
Well, no, they too. But I can't stress enough the fact that they didn't. Robbie Anderson wasn't there. And I'm not saying he's a
Yeah.
world beater, but he's the guy that takes the cover off the defense, and you didn't have to worry about that. You didn't
Right.
have to worry about putting Poyer or Hyde on top of Wallace.
Yeah.
And say, hey, listen. Now, if Anderson is there, you best believe that Poyer and Hyde can't play that down in the box that much. So
Right.
therefore, they left him on an island like that. I didn't hear Trey White called very much, but then again, I didn't hear too many wide receivers for the Jets catch too many passes today.
Right.
So
right.
I think it was another quarterback that held underneath 200 yards today.
Yeah,
Again,
I believe that's right. I believe that's right.
Usually when they do that, they lose the game. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Yep.
good for them.
Let's see.
Do we draft
Levi Wallace was
Bosa?
signed to the roster 5 days ago.
I could have swore he was on the practice squad.
He might have been, dude. It's so hard to keep track of the
Right.
Bills practice squad. I got to be honest with you.
Below zero. Do we draft Bosa if we get the pick, though?
Dude, look at this coaching staff. Of course we're going to draft Bosa from the top 3. Of course.
I thought you were going
Of
somewhere else.
course
with
they're going to
that.
draft Bosa if they're in the top 3.
You talk about a guy that could change the game for you in a
Yeah.
matter of minutes.
When you look at the draft,
Minutes.
the last few years, right? The draft the last few years, tackles have gone further and further and further and further and further down, right? You saw Quentin Nelson go
2016 was
early.
the first year. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
2016 was the first year where the Broncos drafted one of the lowest ever in the modern day era draft.
Yeah, that's right.
20th.
It was 20th. That was the lowest the first tackle off the board had ever been drafted, and that was news that we broke when we were covering the draft live.
Yeah, you broke
so,
it. I didn't.
Whatever.
I didn't know
We're a
that.
team. Whatever. So the point remains that the value of a tackle, while they can make an immediate impact on your team, the value of the draft stock is lower and lower and lower. So when you start looking at a top 10 draft pick, you're looking at, well, we could get the best tackle on the board, right? 6 years ago, 8 years ago, you had to be in the 1, 2, 3 spot to get the best tackle on the board.
Yes.
And that position is really degraded from a draft stock perspective because as players like Jake Fisher, as players that were drafted in 1, 2, and 3 at tackle, and then you see them wash out, you go, ooh, you know what, maybe we're not getting the best bang for our buck here. So you're starting to see that position degrade. The Bills are in the top 5. They can still get the best tackle on the board. If they're in the top 10, they likely will still be able to get a shot at the best tackle on the board. Is that their position of need? I mean, Deion Dawkins can play tight end now, so I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
just saying, though,
But
yeah.
right tackle is a very big need for them.
Yes.
But outside of that, if they end up in the top 3, that would be overdrafting a tackle in this draft class. Bosa is clearly going to be a major target for them because that's just what this team is going to be built on. They need to get pressure with the front 4 so that way you can drop in coverage. That's what they want to do.
The thing is, I think it's going to be, and we can go into this, it's going to be a conflict of interest for the Bills because they want to be a power running team, I think, at heart because of the defensive mindset that McDermott has and everything. They want to be, but not many teams in college run.
Right.
So you're conflicting where do we waste the top 10 pick on a tackle that might be able to block on the run?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a huge thing. So that's why that's one of the reasons why so many tackles have moved down the board is because it's becoming a passing league.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Yep. I do want to point out we got a lot of comments, so we're going to catch up on all those right now. Thank you again. McCoy must have been happy he finally had a good game. McCoy actually setting his season high in the first half, so that was nice. Thanks to LaShawn McCoy. I was definitely on my fantasy football bench, so that was great. Let's see here. Ethan Stevens says, I saw the game. Good. I don't know.
Don't turn into the show.
That's true.
I don't know
I'm
what
sorry,
to do with that.
I don't mean to downplay any comments. See, this was a game that you had to see to be a Bills fan because if you come back, look at the box score, you're like, whoa.
Hold on a second.
What happened here?
Rewind
Yeah, wait. So Bills fan 7883. I know I'm late. So you mentioned I apologize, but Teller was pretty darn good today. Man, he was just a snowplow. It was great
Scroll
to see.
up. Someone said he had a pancake earlier.
Yeah, he did. Oh, yeah, absolutely did. He was eating pancakes all day, baby. Men football talk. KV with another drop in the end zone. They just stopped going to him, right? There's just a point where you just stop throwing the football.
I think I knocked away.
Come on, dude. Like,
I want to give the guy the benefit of the doubt.
You brought him in to be a physical presence. You
He's
can't get
gone. He's not
manhandled.
going to be here next year. Don't worry about it. That's why all these receivers are coming in now because he's not even going to be here next year.
DJ X sketch. Fake punt was great. Bills need to work on their field goal unit. The first one of the season didn't work out so well. I do want to point out that Logan Thomas had a better quarterback rating than Matt Barkley today. Logan Thomas in with 118 quarterback rating.
I'm done.
Yeah. Lit up that radar gun. That ball was thrown a billion times faster than any pass that Nate Peterman completed to either team.
And as I stated last week, go look it up on College Football Reference, I believe it is. Look at the stats for Tyrod Taylor versus Logan Thomas at Virginia
Oh, that's
Tech.
fun.
You're
That's
going
fun.
to love
That's-
it.
yeah, it's fun. It is fun. Let's say Fire Bowls now. Start Webb from Big Green. You have to imagine that they're firing tackles at this point, right? They didn't bring in Davis Webb. I assume because they didn't want him to get eaten by that pass rush. They had no reason to keep McCown in the game, especially since Davis Webb has been on the team. Like he was just on their practice squad, so it's not like he was new to the team. Although, of course, for Bills fans, we have zero sympathy there because we started 2 quarterbacks who've been on the team for less than 2 weeks.
Ooh, great one. Thomas Camp. You read him.
If the Bills run the table, the Bills will be number 12 in the draft next year. I don't think so. They could still make the playoffs.
Playoffs?
Playoffs? They can still make the playoffs.
Are you saying as if things like stay where they are? It's because that's an interesting topic. I mean, if the Bills run the table, once again, it's a big if. So if we're talking about things like so they happen to play out, I think the Bills, the best case scenario for them is, or what might happen. I'm thinking what might happen is they get a split or go 2-4.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go 2-4, you're 5-11, which is where Dable sits mostly with teams that he's.
That's exactly. Yeah, that's precisely where he sits.
So you're gonna get a. I think it's pretty much a sure thing. I mean, not being a downer on the Bills or anything, but you get top 10 pick right now.
Yeah.
Okay, and which, like, as we mentioned last week too, all those top 10 picks still you'll pick top 10 of every round too as well. So you'll be able to, if you want to bundle up some picks. I'm more of the mindset that you get as many bodies as you can in camp and see what they got. Unless there's a talent that you obviously, I have to have this guy. Yeah. You can't wait for him to come down to us. We need to trade up a couple picks. But I think they already did that last year. That was when they got Allen and Edmonds and like, listen, these are our two studs that we're going to have over the next 10 years. That's what we're going to have. But I don't see them maneuvering. But I mean, Bean's a guy that wheels and deals. If he wants to get a known commodity that is known to him, not known over the league, known to him, that he knows he can trust and McDermott can trust, they're going to bring those guys in. So one of the other things that I think we're going to do, we're going to take a look at guys that are going to probably be free agents next year that have familiarity with them guys, or might be upset where they are.
Right. So, well, I mean, and going 5-11 isn't exactly a ticket to outside of the top 10. So just to give you an idea, last year in 2017, a 5-11 record would have gotten you where the Jets were at 6, 7, 6-10 gets you at 8 or 9. So we obviously know what 7 and 9 gets you.
EJ Manuel.
That gets you EJ Manuel.
I'm done.
That was a good one. But just to give you an idea, you're still sitting at a top 10 pick if you're finished the season 5-11. So you kind of have to look at, what your ultimate goals are here. You have to manage the locker room on top of managing what's happening throughout the course of the season, right? You have to manage your record, manage the progress of your players, manage their career growth, right, and their development track. But you also have to manage that locker room, right? The defense is playing world beaters, world beaters. This is a phenomenally played defense. But the offense, as I said, is just unfortunately kind of muttering along, and it's really been because of a lack of talent along the offensive line and the receiver position. But you saw today what speed can do for the game. That's something the Bills have lacked. They really lacked it. They've been looking for it, and they didn't have anything holding them back today. They had a quarterback that apparently understood a little bit of what they were trying to do, and they were able to leverage that speed to get up and out. So that was great.
No Jason Fitzgibbons, no receptions for Benjamin, wasted roster space. I want to say from a business standpoint, it does you no good to cut him at this point because the Bills have already paid his salary for this year. It's not like you're going to save anything or get hit on the cap, but he's still a presence there that teams have to account for.
Right.
So even though if he's not doing what we would like him to do, you already paid the guy. Might as well just keep him there until the end of the year and let him go. You know what I mean? So,
the Big Spence, blah, blah. Talked about Hughes when he went into the tent.
That's a great point.
They didn't move the ball until Hughes went into the tent. He came back and pressured. Hughes played great today. But again, with a line that's not excellent, they were able to man Hughes up on a tackle, and he was able to clear the edge on him. That's really where a lot of that comes in. Hughes isn't like Lawson was today. Lawson collapsed through force, right? And Hughes always tries to run and close on speed. Tries to run. They call it a hook. So that they call it a fish hook. And that's when you go around and you're trying to run around the tackle and come back. That's what Hughes has made his money on for years. Today, he was able to clear that edge a little bit quicker.
Well, we've said it all the time. The right side, if you see it from an offensive standpoint, the right side of the line is where your run block, stronger run blockers are. Your pass blockers are on the other side. Mm-hmm. So Hughes is a pass rusher. Lawson was collapsing down the run, as he always does. However, the thing with Hughes is, and this is probably why the Jets are 3-7, is the fact that they tried to put one-on-one with Hughes. Not going to happen.
No.
You got to chip. You got to do something to get Hughes off of his
Yeah,
route.
they don't even try. The Jets running backs didn't even try to help in pass coverage. Zero help in pass coverage. I think that was just because they were worried about. They wanted to get out there for a pressure release from McCown. I think that really was kind of the whole idea there, was to give him something to check down to. Honestly, I started Elijah McGuire in my fantasy football league. It didn't work out so well because I kind of expected that that outlet route to be there all day, but it just wasn't there. The Jets don't ask those backs to contribute in pass protection really at all. Tim Ellington, they may very well score that many points when they play the Jets again later. Miami doesn't have a huge defense either, and they still have to play them twice. You're right. So that's what I mean. You start looking at where the schedule goes. The Bills have, according to ESPN, the easiest second half schedule coming out of the bye week in the entire league, and it's because it's all against AFC East opponents. So that's what happened, right? But you start.
They've had the easiest schedule for the last 10 years. Then.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, do they have the opportunity to clean up a lot of these games? They do. So you really have to kind of take this with a little bit of a grain of salt, right? What exactly is your intent this season? If the Bills win the next two, they got to run the table, because they very easily can see themselves outside of the top 10 if they don't. They got to run the whole table. They got to run the board. Get as close as you can to that playoff spot. If that's what you're going to do, then you just got to go do it. This is the break-even point. If you don't intend on making the playoffs, you fire Dable tomorrow. Well, I just say, if you don't intend on making the playoffs, you fire Dable tomorrow. Doesn't matter what he did. Doesn't matter, right? If you're looking to get that draft spot, build towards the future, you're already ready to throw in the towel because you've already got 7 losses, right? What do? You fire Dable. That's what you do.
But we said that's the chip that McDermott still has. It's always a coordinator that goes first.
Absolutely.
Defense is playing amazing. Offense isn't playing great. Before they fire the head coach, they always go over coordinator first. We've seen it happen many times. So, do you think he wants to burn that chip this year and go into a season with a friend? I don't know. Okay. Jason Fitzgibbon again. Bench him then. Maybe it would be better missing a game.
Kelvin Benjamin. Referring to Kelvin Benjamin.
I would have benched him a while ago. What I'm saying is, I was just giving up the point that they've already paid him. It doesn't do any good to cut him.
You can bench him. Yeah, you can make him inactive.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
Exactly.
I mean, why not at this point, right? But if the problem with KB is that if you do bench him, he does have to occupy a body or two. I don't think teams are taking him as seriously as they did the first few weeks of the season.
No.
But he does. I mean, he does do his
He's
job.
technically the number one on the roster. So he's going to take the first corner.
So who are you going to put out there? You're going to put Andre Holmes out there? Listen, if benching Kelvin Benjamin takes Zay Jones anywhere but out of the slot, I don't approve. Okay, let's just move right past that.
I knew that.
That means we're pushing Zay Jones back to the outside. Let's just stop this conversation right there. Lawson played great. Chris Stratton, right? I thought Lawson was headed out at the end of the season. I told 100% with you. He was drafted by a different regime for a different style of defense, and he's really been able to mold himself in. Now, there were some behavioral issues off the field from his attitude as far as learning the game.
Yes.
And McDermott and Bean both made comments about that at the beginning of the season, how he was serious about this season, which kind of tells you where he was last year. So it was great to see.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the few guys in the preseason that they called out.
Yeah.
They said, listen, he's got to prove that he wants to be here.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, he's bought in to what the system asked him to do on that end, and he's first-round pick. I mean...
James Parsons, Shady needed a game like this. This offensive line needed a game like this. Yeah, being ineffective running the football for 10 consecutive weeks is a terrifying way to play football. Terrifying.
My liver needed a game like this.
Well, you were watching it with the guys from Rockpile Report. So.
Oh my God, they have no. Good Lord, that was a great time though.
I'm sure. So, just to go out and and Keller's been a pretty big topic conversation.
Love
Jason
Teller.
Fitzsimmons.
I love him coming out. I'm wondering why it took him this long. This is
that is true. I don't know why it took them this long to start Teller over Dukas. I don't get it.
Listen, this could be the same path. It was Jason Fitzgibbons came in and said thoughts on Teller. Remember last year when Humber played over Milano for 8 weeks?
Yeah.
And then he finally got his chance?
Yeah.
That's the system
it's
of
these
old school.
It's a very Bruce Arians thing to do, though.
It's the very old school mentality. I'm going to say old school because, Arians, he is from the old school. So I'll just label it old school. they make you earn your spot. The first year when Arians was in, or no, the first year that David Johnson was in Arizona, he said no, he's a rookie. He's not. He's got to earn his stripes.
Yeah, he was returning punts for touchdowns, kickoffs for touchdowns.
But the thing about it was, I think he wanted Teller to earn his stripes in that respect. And I think today was the day that he probably earned his stripes, just like Milano had to earn them last year playing behind Humber, who's not even here anymore.
Right.
So that could spell the end of Ducasse.
Yep.
You think that's one of those things. Did you track Barkley jersey sales yet? I'm pretty sure there's still a lot of number 5 jerseys in Buffalo. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you know what? Just a little duct tape and a permanent marker, and you are good to go. Everybody will understand. Literally everybody will understand. I want to point out something that I did that's kind of a funny story. It involves the Jets. This is to do with his brother. So his brother is a big Jets fan, right? Big Jets fan. Still is a big Jets fan. So we're not going to... Still a big Jets fan. So... back when they signed Tebow, I went and I bought a Michael Vick jersey. No, I'm sorry, excuse me. When the Jets signed Vick, I bought a Tim Tebow jersey, and I took duct tape and I X'd out the numbers on the Vick jersey, or on the Tebow jersey. Wait, do I have that right?
Yeah.
I do that right.
Put the X over the 5.
Put the X over the 5, and turned it into a Mike Vick jersey.
That Tebow jersey, did you pay more than double digits for that jersey?
No, with shipping was like $8.
Okay.
Totally worth it.
Right,
totally worth it.
Totally worth the joke then. Tebow Jets jersey.
But what I'm saying is there's probably a lot of Bills number 5 jerseys out there that you could get for near nothing. If that's what you're into. I have a bad jersey collection. I'm not afraid to admit that. I own a Shane Falco jersey.
That's the best jersey ever. Shut your mouth. That's the greatest jersey. That's almost next to my Bobby Boucher jersey that you got me.
That's true. That's a great jersey as well. Let's see. Did the game at least buy Dable to the end of the season? I think that really depends on we're going to learn a lot about the direction of this organization tomorrow.
Yes.
We're going to learn a lot. So if they are really playing for the playoffs, Dable keeps his job. If they're not playing for the playoffs, Dable's gone. There's no reason to keep him otherwise.
But you won't hear about Allen.
No.
They're going to keep that under wraps until they have to play.
Yep.
Because it doesn't help letting a team that you have to play study more tape on Allen.
Yeah.
You let them waste time studying on Barkley if you plan on starting Allen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't tell anybody I'm starting Allen, even if I was.
Question. The play that we got out of Barkley, would we have gotten that out of A.J. McCarron and just saved ourselves a lot of time and aggravation? Is this what we would have gotten out of McCarron had he stayed put?
You think if yeah, I think you could. I think that you can make that argument.
I think you have to look at wins above replacement. It's a very baseball term, but I think if you look at McCarron versus Barkley, I don't think you're seeing a massive difference here. I think you're pretty close to.
Are they better than 3-7 if McCarron started every game this year?
Yeah, I think so.
So if they're actually in tank mode, is that why they traded him? Because they knew he would have won more games?
I just think they valued the pain and suffering of Bills fans at a 5th-round draft pick. That's what I really think.
They did.
Yeah.
This is Boot. He's got to learn how to lose, too.
I do want a Paul Blake jersey. The problem with the Paul Blake jersey is really lame. Like, it's just a lame jersey. We
were hammered on a video that said that we don't pay enough attention to longest yard.
Yeah, that's true. No, we don't. We don't.
Paul Crew, man, we need a Paul Crew jersey.
Yeah. Big Spence is just convinced that there's a gas leak in the office of One Bills Drive. Just 100% convinced that there's a methane gas leak, which is causing everything. Which explains maybe why Russ Brandon had a job as long as he did. Who knows? Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
He went there. He bought the t-shirt.
All right, so we're going to wrap up the post game today. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. If there's anything you want as far as content for the next 2 weeks, remember, you got a bye week next week. We have an exciting announcement coming up, so we want you guys to be on the lookout for that. We've got sort of a cool... We've got a cool giveaway item that we're looking forward to, but we don't really want to give any details on it just yet. We're still hoping everything works out, so keep tuned for that. But if there's anything you guys want as far as videos, go ahead and drop a comment on any one of our videos. You can do it on this one too. Doesn't matter. We'll get the notification. And we are going to go cut this week's content right now. And then you can see that, of course, over the course of the next week. And again, after and into next week, there's no game. So if there's any topic that you want, literally no holds barred, let us know. We will be happy to talk about it. You want to talk about the 5 worst Bills draft picks? Oh,
we got
we
you
could
covered.
do that. Yeah, we could do that. You want to talk about top free agents next season, trade targets next season, moving up, moving down in the draft players, draft stock players. We didn't talk about that yet. So there's a lot to talk about. That anything that you guys want as fans, you let us know, and we will give you the best we got. So, all right, we'll talk to you then. Thanks everybody for joining in and staying active with the chat. We cannot tell you how much we appreciate that. Thank you so much. You guys really do make this show, and you know, we really, really do appreciate it. Oh, Chris Stratton, say it's a Billy Joe Hobart jersey. Oh my God, dude, I love the Billy Joe Hobart reference. Love it, love it.
Listen, you and him.
Love it.
I know it's going to sound like I'm hanging up, but see you guys. Go Bills.